What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm also the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best News, Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, once a month, I host the only online broadcast in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. One more thing, I am the board chair for an organization called the Global Food and Drink Initiative, and its main purpose is to highlight and showcase Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. And always I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And looking forward to this important conversation today. The last few weeks, especially in America, have been quite challenging in regards to social justice, especially social justice and Black Americans and African Americans. We had two events, the Daunte Wright shooting and also the Derek Chauvin trial verdict, that have been impactful to not only Black Americans, African Americans, but many Americans and many people around the world. And we thought it'd be no better to have a friend of the show, LeRon Barton, to come on and talk about both of these events. But let me give you some background on LeRon if you've not met him before. He's a writer from Kansas City, Missouri. He's currently living in San Francisco. He's a graduate of the Paseo Academy of Fine Arts. He's also the author of two books, Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture, and All We Really Need Is Love, stories of dating, relationships, heartbreak, and marriage. In addition to his books, he's an essayist whose topics cover racism, mass incarceration, politics, gender, and dating. His works have appeared in Black Enterprise, Salon, Harvest Business Review, Good Men Project, Your Tango, Media Diversity, Raconteur, Elephant Journal. You know, he's all over in a good way. He's also an international speaker who has given multiple talks and appeared on TEDx, Al Jazeera, University of San Francisco, Navis, Speakers Who Dare, Nas Dubai. You get it. He's a global guy. So in his spare time, he enjoys mentoring African-American youth, teaching creative writing at the San Francisco County Jail, and backpacking around the world. So it is really great to have LeRon back when he has time for us. So LeRon, it's good to have you back when you have time for us.
Yes, sir. Listen, man, it is always wonderful to be on the show. You know, I've been rocking with Dr. Vibe tough since was it 2015, 2016?
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute.
And you know what I mean? It's been a while. So, you know, I love coming back here because, you know, not only was this the first podcast that I was on, but also the fact that, you know, we get to have a real conversation between two Black men about issues that affect us. And just, you know, I can truly be myself on this podcast. So I'm really excited. You know, let's get it going, man. Let's
yeah, and you've been doing articles all around the place and just continued success. And I guess professionally, I can say I knew you when. So,
you know, my man, I've been. It's funny because I've been doing a lot of speaking, and I was like, I need to really get into writing shape. I like to call it because I'm going to start on my third book this year, and so. You know, I've had within the past 2 weeks, I believe I've had two articles coming out. I'm sorry, I have two articles released about the George Floyd issue. You know, I was talking about the first article I wrote. It was about, you know, what defunding the police, is. And the second article was about my reaction to the George Floyd verdict. And just, you know, talking about, there was so many things that was said. Just people just, you know, saying funny little stuff. And so I really wanted to address that and just also just really recognize that, you know, this doesn't happen very often. You dig? This doesn't happen where, you know, a white police officer on video kills a Black man, unfortunately, and he is convicted. Now, we don't know what the sentence is, but, you know, honestly, I'm just elated. You know, people have been saying, oh, you know, this isn't justice. I'm like, shut up. You know, especially if you're not Black, right? You know, if you're not Black and if you will never go through police terrorism to the level that I will go to. Like, I just think you need to just be quiet. I think you need to just sit back, relax, chill, and just, let the folks, as in let the folks, truly enjoy this moment, because we need, it's funny, like I was talking to one of my best friends, Alicia, and I was just telling her, I was like, it's a lot of folks, a lot of non-Black people, and I don't know if it's from envy. I mean, and you really shouldn't envy this moment, right? I mean, but I guess it's because the moment isn't on them, or Black men are at the focal point of this, but they were just saying, oh, this isn't justice, this isn't really anything. And I'm like, yo, for real, just shut up. Like, I was on a Clubhouse, right? And I just went in. I was like, y'all don't understand how rare this is. So you know what? If we can have a moment in the sun, then let us have that moment in the sun. Let us enjoy this. Listen, is it justice? No, because Floyd isn't coming back. Is it justice? No, because there's racism, white supremacy, anti-Blackness. That's my third thing that I like to throw on there now. That is so rampant in this country. It's in the fiber of this country. So is it justice? No. However, it feels good to know that one of them has finally been punished. And the great Papoose, MC out of Brooklyn, shout out to Brooklyn, he has said, I've been waiting for one of these suckers to get punished for a long time. And I feel the same way. See, you can always tell folks who are not from the hood, folks who are not Black, or folks who will never, ever be a victim of, this type of treatment, because like they don't understand the gravity of it. So, that's all that I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, as usual, you're coming out with fire, not holding back. And before we went live, before we went live, I asked LeRon, I thought, what order do we want to talk about, the Derek Chauvin case, or do we want to talk about the Daunte Wright shooting? So we're going to talk about the Daunte Wright shooting, and then get into the case, because with the case, the aftermath of the case, and also I want LeRon to address some speaking points of what's the next steps, what are the calls to action.
100%.
So let's talk first about what was your reaction in regard to the Daunte Wright shooting, which happened during the trial was going on.
I felt so it's really hard to talk about this, right? Because these shootings happen so often. I mean, you don't really get to process one because another one's going to be coming after, right? So when I read about the case, I was just like, damn, like, another brother, he's a handsome young brother, he was a father. And so for that, that really bummed me out. I mean, it's, to be, and this is something that I've always said, Dr. Bob, to be Black in America is to walk a tightrope. And, you have to balance so many things. You have to balance your Blackness. You have to balance how you are in the white world. You have to, when you are come in contact with police officers, you have to somehow shrink yourself, because again, like when you come in contact with a cop, or when you are Black, especially as a Black man, you don't know if that is your last day. The last time that I was pulled over, I was coming from Florence, Alabama, on my way to Nashville. I had just done my second TEDx, so I'm flying. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I'm bumping them boys UGK, and this cop, he saw me, and he flashed cherries, and I was like, oh shoot, like what's going on? So I pulled over, and I immediately got my stuff out of I put my driver's license, I put the car registration onto the passenger seat. And I had my hands on 10 and 2, you know what I mean? Just like the way that I was taught. And, I was shaking, like, so when people try to downplay how these things happen, this is a glimpse into our life. I was really just saddened by Mr. Wright's passing. And, Dr. Vibe, that's when I knew. I was like, you know what? There's no way that Derek Chauvin is going to be found not guilty, because this shows a pattern within that area. I mean, this is more evidence of systemic racism. I think someone like Lindsey Graham.
Okay, so before we go any further,
Right.
before we went live, I was online just catching up on some stories, and Senator Lindsey Graham on Fox News was asked, does he feel there's systemic racism in America? And he said, it doesn't exist.
Right. So there's a couple of things wrong with that, right? First off, he is a white man in America, right? He's an older white male. He's in the South. He's been in this boys club forever. So of course, his job is to deny that it's systemic racism, because if he doesn't, then he's gonna have to realize that all of his achievements are just total bull job. Secondly, his constituents probably believe the same thing that he does. It's funny. It's like white folks love to deny racism, man. I mean, they either deny it or they downplay it, right? And so this is why I'm so against the term white privilege, because it waters the effects down. Matter of fact, and my friend, she advised me to stop using the term Karen, because see, here's the thing. When those white women are being vicious, and when they are when they're harassing black folks, when they're putting black people in danger, we shouldn't minimize that to like a joking thing. That's a real aggressive act against black folks' lives. So I don't use Karen. I don't use that silly POC BIPOC crap. We need to call things for what they are. So Lindsey Graham, he's not going to admit that the country is racist, because then he has to look at the world and realize that, okay, white folks are at the center of a lot of the issues here. There is a term for it. It's a sort of a psychological term where it's like you're just going to deny something even though it's right there in your face. It's almost like you can sort of compartmentalize stuff. So yeah, Lindsey Graham, he's a clown, man. And those guys, and it's really important, and I really want people to listen to what I'm going to say. So a lot of people may say, well, LeRon, we just have to just wait till Lindsey Graham passes and we'll get someone more progressive. Where's the data? Where's the logic in that, right? Because it was like 46% of all young white folks voted for Trump. So instead of addressing the symptom, which is Lindsey Graham, let's address the system that is producing the younger Lindsey Grahams. There's a young man out of Missouri. His name is Madison. I forget Buddy's name, or maybe he's not in Missouri. He's a young, handsome Republican guy. Very photogenic. Believe he's in a wheelchair, and he's espousing a lot of the same views that Lindsey Graham does. So they're just pumping these people out, right? So again, it's not about getting Lindsey Graham out of there. It's about, let's dismantle the system that creates a Lindsey Graham that allows these people to continue to believe just lies and just fallacy. Because come on, from hiring to education to health, I mean, racism is there.
Okay, so let's cycle back and go back to the Daunte Wright shooting, especially one of the things that has come up because of the body cam, that the officer mistook a gun for a taser.
Yeah. What, Dr. Bob, those things always happen to black folks. So when I heard about that, I immediately thought about Oscar Grant. For those who don't know, Oscar Grant was a young man who was killed in Oakland at the Fruitvale BART station. And he was killed by an officer because the officer thought that his taser was a gun. So for one, and this is something that I've read about. For one, a taser and a gun feels totally different, right? Secondly, they're placed on specific sides of your waist. So I don't think that I believe that. Like, if she, and the officer was a woman, I can't remember the officer's name, but if she did accidentally do that, because I heard the audio, right? She was like, taser, and she shoots him. Well, that still doesn't make it any better. There's a term that I use and that I learned, a couple years ago. Impact trumps intent, right? So your intent was to tase him, but the impact was that you killed him. So it's like, if I'm driving, right, my intent is to make that left, but I still crash into you. Well, man, I was just trying to just make that left, man. Like, well, it doesn't matter. You totaled my car. And secondly, these things only happen to Black folks. Like, I've never heard of a white person being shot accidentally because they were reaching for a taser. Like, it just, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it.
Mm. What do you feel is going to, like, are you obviously, what were your reactions when I think the chief of the police and also the officer involved in the shooting resigned? What was your response to that?
They realized that they did something very, very wrong, and that there was no way that they were going to be able to clean that up. Hopefully, some semblance of justice will be had. I just don't I don't know. I mean, they say that the young man was aggressive, trying to get away from the police. But here's the thing, right? Even if he was combative, right? Even if he was, trying to shove folk off, what right does that have to do with you to kill him, though? Like, I've seen videos of white people coming after cops. Like there's a new video out, right? And it's been circling around social media, Dick. It was a white man coming out of his house. I believe he was swinging something, and the cop is just sort of backing away. And there's no, there is no type of aggression being shown to that person. So we only get that type of aggression. And, we can look at the Micaiah, I believe her name is Micaiah Bryant.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Miss Bryant was 16 years old from the foster system. So she's already been through a lot of really hard things. And she had a knife. Kyle Rittenhouse had a rifle, and he was being able to take it in alive. She had a knife. There is no reason for her to not be alive today. But when you live in a system of racism, white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and when the cops view you as the enemy, this is the outcome.
Hmm. So based on the information about the Wright incident, are you hoping and speaking that there'll be a trial and outcome of conviction based on the facts that we know so far?
I believe that there will be a trial. I think that if I were a betting man, Dr. Vibe, I would think that she would plead. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me take that back. I don't think that there will be a trial. I think that she's going to plead out. I think she's going to plead to a lesser charge because I mean, she's kind of dead to rights, right? But again, this young man was Black, and so he's a black male. I mean, what she has going against her and I guess for her is her police record, right? So she's been on the force, I believe, 22 years, if I'm not mistaken. So she's learned enough to not be able to make a mistake like that. But at the same time, if she has a spotless record, they could say, well, she's been an exemplary officer. So I would say she's probably going to plead out, but I would not be surprised if this does go to trial, though.
Okay, good stuff. We're going to spend the balance of the conversation talking about George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, not only the trial, get LeRon's thoughts about the trial pre, during, and post. And then, as I said, there's an article we've been referring to that came out in The Guardian yesterday And the title of the article is "It Felt Like Bare Minimum Readers Respond to Derek Chauvin's Verdict." And there's a number of points are in that article that I'll want LeRon to speak to. So let's first, LeRon, ask what were your thoughts about the trial itself?
Well, so you have the video, right? I mean, this man, the images are sort of ingrained in people's minds of former Officer Chauvin having his knee on George Floyd's neck. I mean, it was definitely like racist as hell. It just seemed like those images back in the day, you would there's an image, there's a famous drawing of this white man standing over this black man, and his gun is smoking, and he killed him. And he said something to I'll never forget this because this was just so crazy. It said, "I had to kill you because you would have grown up and overpowered me or killed me." So I think that in America, there's a fear of white people thinking that black folks will extract the same type of treatment that they've given us. And it's hard for me to look at the police as a organization that's in a vacuum. If people would do the research, they would know. This is something that I outlined in my recent article about defunding the police. These organizations, they are derived from slave patrols. So if your foundation is already shit, excuse my language, like there's no way that good fruit will grow from that. So I mean, I would again, the police have never been my friend. Like, I mean, I've had, out of 12 stops, let's just say I've had 12, right? Out of 12 stops, maybe 2 have been decent. So that means that I'm already fearing you once you roll up on me. I felt that, the evidence obviously was really strong. I was really surprised when I saw police officers come out and testify against former Officer Chauvin. I was not surprised in the defense trying to paint Floyd as a drug addict. I mean, but it just felt like, honestly, Dr. Bob, that their job to overcome that video, that was a really arduous task that I don't believe anyone could do. I didn't think the case was a slam dunk. I thought we had a great chance of convicting former Officer Chauvin, but again, he's a black male. He's a white police officer. America still loves police. I mean, like, I'm sorry, like, this is one of the reasons why that I don't use the term POC, because there's a lot of non-black, non-white people that like the police. You know what I mean? Like, and there are a lot of older black folks that don't mind the police. So, it's one of those things where it's like, you never know.
Okay. All right. Where, actually, let's put a comment here. There's a definite admirer of yours who's, I think, watching this, Matthew Solomon, saying thank you for this conversation. I truly appreciate the honesty and candor. Actually, I'm going to reach out to him out there. I'd like to have both of you on together.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So, Matthew, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, I'm gonna reach out to and would love to have both of you on talking about racism in America at this interesting time. If LeRon, are you up for something like that?
100%.
All right, good stuff.
Matthew's my guy, so yeah, man. Like, it'll be super duper solid.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks very much. So, where were you when you heard the verdict, and what were you anticipating, or like that moment? Because for me, when I heard the verdict, it was almost the same sort of environment or thought process as O.J. Simpson. Like, you don't know what was going to happen. Where were you, and what was your initial reaction to the verdict?
I was sitting on my couch. It's funny, like I was on a Clubhouse, right? And so, it was there's this wonderful group that it's men in mental health, and folks were having a, just sort of a mental health check-in. And I was listening to this young brother talk about, being black and the verdict. And so I was already like a little PO, because someone that I knew, he was trying to poo-poo, justice, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, look, you know what? Stop. Just knock it off. And so I got on the line and I was just like, look, this is very important. It won't bring Floyd back, but this is extremely important. And so, during the Clubhouse call, someone was like, hey, the verdict's been announced. I'm like, the jury's back. They're getting ready to announce the verdict. So I'm looking at my phone like this, like, just kind of shaking. And so I'm getting a text from like my, one of my best friends, Sarah Ann, and I'm texting a couple other folks, dig. And so I, when they said it on the call, I was like, wow, like I was first blown away. Like I was like, wow. And I had this smile on my face, I was just like, wow, like, this is actually really happening. And so I talked to my little brother, what I mean? Like my best friend in the entire world, Brent. And, he called me, he was excited. And, whenever these things happen, like I'm always thinking about, I never think about myself, right? Because look, I'm a 42-year-old black man. I know how to move and groove when it comes to the police, even though I could be doing everything right, and I'll still be a victim. I know how to avoid situations a little bit better than the youth. And so I always think about the youth and young men that are coming behind me. But I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, Dr. Bob, I'm still in shock, to be honest with you. Like it just hasn't quite.
Why were you in shock?
Because it's America, man. And like, this just doesn't happen. Like, I mean, look, truthfully, when it comes to black folks, white people are almost never held accountable. Like it just doesn't happen, man. I mean, this is still the country where in Philly they bombed a whole city block. Like, think about it. They bombed it was the MoVe headquarters. They bombed the MoVe headquarters. This is still a country where the great Fred Hampton was killed in his sleep, where Malcolm X was killed by the Nation of Islam with the FBI's help. Like, they killed King. Like, they have beat Rodney King, within just brutalize him, videotaped, and the police still got off. So, nothing is ever in the bag. It's never a shoe-in. And just think about how sad that is, right? So we have the video of a black man just being lynched, and we still are sitting on pins and needles. We don't know if the police will ever be held accountable. So it's still quite amazing for me.
Actually, here's a message from another gentleman from your journey, Galen Bingham.
Galen's awesome.
Saying, black folks always want hope that fairness exists. We really want America to live up to its promises. Thoughts on that comment?
I feel like that. So I am a believer of the permanence of racism. The great Derek Bell's theory by him, which was introduced to me by the equally great Dr. Tommy Curry. And when I learned that the permanence of racism, which it just means that racism will always exist, there's nothing that we can do about it, I don't have hope. I live in reality. These things happen. A lot of people may say, "Oh, LeRon, you're being so pessimistic," and I'm like, "Well, no, I'm just a realist." So, this is proof of that theory. Lindsey Graham, coming back to that, right? And this is how dangerous representation is. And I shouldn't say representation. I should say tokenism, right? So if anyone's ever listened to me, they know I'm not a fan of then President Barack Obama. I think he's one of the biggest cowards I've ever seen in my life. And so Lindsey Graham's whole proof of systemic racism not existing is that we had a black president. Right. Not only that, but we have a black vice president. And so the reason why that those things work in racism's favor is because the system can prop these two folks up, right? And say, see, this is proof that it doesn't exist. The problem is that you don't work hard enough. The problem is your culture, the way you've been raised, how you manage your money, how you live, yada, yada, yada. But, and this is probably for another, well, you know what? I'm not going to get into that. Like, I'll just say this. People are selected, right? Me, I'm a black man, ADOS, you know, for those who don't know what that is, as American descendant of slavery. I'm extremely vocal about white supremacy. I don't play a game. I'm, you know, if you look at my writings, my speeches, speaking engagements, I'm going bodyguard hard, right? And so because of that, I'm not going to be selected. So just think on that. There's a reason. There's a reason why certain folks, certain people that share my same skin tone are able to be elevated.
Mm-hmm. Case closed. Case closed. Drop the mic, right? Drop the mic. I'm looking for a mic to drop.
I have not been on this show in a long time, so I'm just going in. Full mode today.
Going in. It's been a long time, man. It's been too long. You're not long enough, but I understand why, because you're elevating and going higher and higher. So I'm glad you made the pit stop today. So what in your community, what has been the response to the verdict?
You know, you've been having a lot of black folks happy, you know, a lot of people like me saying like, wow, you know, the word accountability has been thrown around. And just, you know, it's for me, like I've been telling people, you know, this gave me a chance to breathe a little bit. You know, the fact that we've been holding our breath figuratively and literally with this trial just says that, man, like, you know, it's over, but it's never over. So life is composed of so many battles, right? And this is just one. Like white supremacy is still winning. Like, you know, like this does, you know, what bothers me, Dr. Vibe, is when I when I hear and see silly Negroes say stuff like, oh, this white supremacy's last gasp, or it's gasping on its last day. It's like, no, it's not. Like, it's not. You're just saying that stuff because you either want to make folks feel better, you want to get in on these stages, or just whatever. Like, but I deal in the reality, data, facts. Fact of the matter is that black men still comprise the prison system more than any person, gender on this planet. You know, tech is still abnormally white. You like, you know, there was a black man killed in North Carolina recently. You know, Ma'Khia Bryant killed, Daunte Wright killed, and mind you, these are people that we are hearing about. Black folks are terrorized every single day by white people, either through the jobs, through the health department. I mean, just so this isn't the last gasp. Like this was a small victory. Let's relish it and let's just keep moving now.
Exactly. Has there been any pushback that you've experienced because of your response to the trial verdict?
I mean, you know, again, like, you know, you have people that are not black that don't quite understand the monumentous moment that this is, right? And I'm going to say this is a monumentous moment. This is not something, you know, moments are very fleeting, right? I mean, you know, this is historic, but, you know, again, like I was saying in, you know, the earlier, you know, top of the show, Dr. Vibe, a lot of non-black people have been sort of decrying this. They've been kind of poo-pooing it. And, you know, like, I don't know, like if if they call themselves allies, but just now's the time to just shut up. Like, just understand where we're coming from.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna jump. Oh, actually, here's another thing I want to ask.
Yes,
Media coverage of the trial. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was really sad how they kept labeling it as the George Floyd trial. And, I take blame. I did that too. I think that it should have been the Derek Chauvin trial. It's kind of like something that I learned about how when we talk about rape, right? So we often say, well, she was raped. No, we should label it and we should rephrase it as, no, he raped her. When I talk about, Brock Turner raping Chanel Miller, whose book I really want to read, I put all of the emphasis on the act that he did, right? Because he violated, right? So so the cover should be Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd. It shouldn't be, the George Floyd trial, because what that says is that sort of frames it as, George Floyd was in the wrong somehow. Even if George Floyd was passing counterfeit money, right? Is that a reason to die? No, it's not.
That's a good point. Excellent point.
Thank you very much.
Maybe he didn't. It's too bad. This is a sad situation, and let's hope it's grow from it. I had referred earlier in the conversation to an article in The Guardian written by Rachel Orbondo, and I thought it'd be really good to go through this article and get LeRon's feedback. And what this reporter has done is she's basically, on behalf of The Guardian, just got responses post the Derek Chauvin verdict. And I just want to get LeRon to delve deeper into some of the recommendations that some of the readers made. Some of them I know he's expressed before, but just to go a deeper dive.
Sure.
So we've heard for the last year defunding the police, and one of the first comments that is made here by one of the readers is police departments should demilitarize. Your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. I feel like that. So people often say that, the cop's job is one of the most is the most dangerous job. And listen, I don't think anyone's disputing that that the police do have a job that has a constant threat. Anyone being honest would never say anything like that, Dr. Bob. But as far there's no reason why police should have military grade weaponry. I mean, this, you're not fighting a war. I mean, this is you're literally here to protect and serve, right? And if you need that type of weaponry to go into police communities, then that's something wrong. Like, I'm 100% for defunding the police. I think those resources need to go elsewhere. One of the things that, I was on a panel Thursday, and I was talking about, the George Floyd, and I did it. I was talking about the Derek Chauvin trial, and I said, George Floyd passing that counterfeit bill, that is a symptom. What we need to really be focusing funds on is that how we can uplift an environment that where George Floyd feels that he shouldn't have to do that. See, it's like us putting a Band-Aid on like a deep stab wound. That John, it's just gonna keep gushing, right? So we need to fix the environments that a lot of our folks come from. I come from those environments, and it's very, very, very people don't understand how difficult it is to make it out of the ghetto, to make it out of an impoverished society. And, this goes for any race, any, ethnicity, gender, et cetera, right? It's hard to make it out of somewhere that is designed to contain you, right? But when you're a Black male, it's compounded. So I think that by defunding the police, if we sort of point those resources towards school, towards mental health, resources to job resources, training. I guarantee you the likeliness of George Floyd will just decrease.
Before we go any further, comment here from Galen. That's a great point. As phrase, it's saying that, quote, George Floyd interrupted the narrative that the police are always right, unquote.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, again, like in my first article that I wrote about police reform, Dr. Bob, I said, you know, the fundamental issue is, sorry about that, I always get tricky with that word. The fundamental issue here is that you have one group of people that view the police one way, and you have another group of people that view the police the other way. And again, going back to Lindsey Graham, just because your experience is what it is, that doesn't mean that you should invalidate my experience. So, you know, Dr. Bob, you could be having the best experience with police. It doesn't matter. My experience is messed up. Folk that look like me's experience is messed up. So instead of just deriding it and just saying, oh, well, you know, you're just full of it, we need to really look at why there is such a discrepancy between the way whites are treated and the way blacks are treated. So
in the area of demilitarizing the police, do you say complete, partial, community policing? What does that look like to you? If you can give us some more depth on this point.
Well, I haven't seen the data that community policing actually works. So I don't know. That's something that I definitely do want to study. Demilitarizing the police, I can't give you a 100% answer on how that would look for me. So that's something that I can't accurately answer right now.
More than fair. That's more than fair. Let's go to the next area that's covered in the article. We have police officers need better psychological vetting.
I agree with that. Again, like the police, I guess, industrial complex, if that's what you want to name it, is flawed from the get-go because it's built on a racist foundation. You know, my really good friend David Chastain told me something that I'll never forget. You know, we were talking about police, right? And he said, you know, you can't be ubiquitous and be good, right? And so I thought about what he said. The fact of the matter is it's not hard to be a police officer, but the requirements to be a cop should be much more rigid, right? Like to be a teacher, you have to go through, you got to get a degree, then you have to get a credential, right? So that's several years. But being a cop, it's several months. That to me, it just doesn't wash. So I do feel like that the requirements and that the rigor to be a police officer should be much, much higher. And so I do think that the mental health aspect of policing and choosing who should be a cop is not heightened enough. We just we have to have better standards, man. And I don't think that that's going to solve the issue. However, I'm willing to try pretty much anything. So, that's me.
So in your thought, anything's better than what we have going right now?
100%. We need to start throwing stuff to the wall to see if it sticks.
Okay. Point well taken. So next area in this article says about we need social workers to respond to mental health emergencies instead of cops.
100% agree with that. So again, a cop is not trained to respond to someone having a mental health issue, someone having mental health problems, because that's what a social worker, that's what a psychologist, a psychiatrist, someone in the mental health professional needs to do. I think one of the issues is we're asking cops to do so many things with so little training. right? It's like we're asking this cop to be a jack of all trades. And as a layman, I don't know how to respond to someone that's having a mental health issue. The cop here, she's not trained for that. That's not their that's not their specialty. So I don't. So yeah, I 100%. I definitely agree. Like there needs to be people coming into the situation that are familiar with how people act.
Okay. All right. And I'll put up this. Got to come back to you now. And the next part of this article, and and this is a good question because I don't know if we really know this, but the article then says one of the readers said police policies should be made public. Do we? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's
a very good question because do we really know police policies, all their policies?
I don't.
And it's funny too because at the end of the day, who pays police their salaries? The taxpayer.
Exactly. And I'm a taxpayer. I live in California and I'm single, so I'm paying a lot of tax. Matthew's paying a lot of tax. Like you know what I mean? So yeah, so I mean these things should be visible.
And the final part here, I think you may want to get deeper into this. One of the readers says the police is still largely clueless in dealing with the minority communities.
Yeah, I have a problem with this. So, Dr. Vibe, like you, I put my pants on this the same way, right? You know, I've got to use the restroom. I need food to survive. I need air to breathe. So that comment is so bad. First off, we're not animals, right? So I like saying that you need training to deal with minority communities. That's just dumb. Like what makes me so different than a white person? What makes Ma'Khia Bryant so different than the white man that we saw wielding a knife on that video, right? Secondly, what is minority communities? These things are, look, again, stop using that word. Look, when we talk about race, there needs to be a level of specificity, to quote Yvette Carnell. Black people are treated differently than any other minority, if you want to call it. We're killed at a much higher rate. We are in prison at a much higher rate. So what do you not know? Like, I'm sorry, like that's such a cop out. So again, Dr. Tommy Curry, man, like he needs to be back on the show. He talked about how socialization was complete crap. Because see, here's the thing, right? And when I talk about socialization, meaning like white people being around black people, white people being around, say, Latinos, et cetera, right? But see, white folks have been around us for years. Slavery, white people have lived amongst black people. We've lived with each other for years. So when you talk about training, that's like saying like I'm a different species. Yo, man, you gotta know how to be around them tigers. Like, come on, like that's just no. Like I'm not buying that. Sorry.
No problem. That is good. That is good. During the trial, I was listening to some different people giving their commenting on the trial and the events pre and post trial. And a black man said something interesting that they interviewed. He said that black people get laws. We don't get justice. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Very insightful comment. Wow, black people get law. That's true. There's going to be a George. See, and again, like I can quote Dr. Curry all day long. He said something on a podcast that I'll never forget. And if I butcher it, I apologize. He said that black people are the collateral damage for white folks to learn about racism, right? So it's almost like a black person has to die or suffer a tragic fate in order for us to get it right. Instead of just off the rip, just doing what you know is right. Right. So why does George Floyd have to die for there to be a George Floyd Act? Like, you're like, that's silly. That doesn't make any kind of sense. Like, George Floyd should not be a martyr.
Why do you say that?
Because it's like there's like, we've had over 400 years of ill treatment in this country, right? And like, I hate the term the racial reckoning. Like, I hate that term so much. Like, I just want to just scream on somebody whoever made that. It's dumb. It's dumb as like post-racial, right? Because once again, white folks learning about something is at the expense of black people's pain. And there's got to be some way around that. You're like, at some point, you know, they've got to get it right on their own. And it's just like, I'm just not for that. So I totally agree with that gentleman.
Matthew saying even Pelosi said he gave his life for justice.
Damn, listen, I saw that, man. I didn't even watch the whole video. And so that just proves what I'm talking about. It's never like, okay, we're gonna do right because it's the right thing. You know, Pelosi's a joke, man. Like, I just don't get me started, man. I'm not a fan of. I'm a fan of a couple Dems, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, the young lady in Michigan, and this is really like, I mean, Corey Bush. I mean, I guess she's okay, but other than that, man, it's just common Democrat speak. It's just common spineless. I mean, she's such a jellyfish. Like, I mean, it's like, like, think about that. Like, he had to give his life for justice. How about, look, you know what needs to be done. Like, we cannot be cannon fodder, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, so when I heard Pelosi say that, I was like, Jesus. I mean, yeah, like, someone brilliant, like, see, you would never have a Larry Krasner of Philly saying something foolish like that. Brilliant politician. You would never have Chelsea Bodine in San Francisco saying something like this. But because she's not called out, and because she constantly says dumb shit, she says dumb stuff all the time, it's like, well, but I mean, like, that was coming. She truly believes that. And the thing about it is that the folks she got around her, they don't see anything wrong with that. And that is such a big problem.
Where is the future of race in America in the near future, in your opinion, after this trial?
Oh, man, like, I mean, black folks are still going to be surviving, not living. I'm really proud of the fact that there are some black people who are not afraid to call out racism, white supremacy. It's growing. We're calling out just a lot of the racial showcasing. A lot of the I'm gonna kind of hold my tongue, but just like a lot of people that have our same skin color but don't really represent us. I mean,
Would you? We won't get. Would you say some of the people we say regularly on the television shows?
Yeah, man, like, kill him, like,
easy.
I mean, just like, and I know, like, I know, like, they're such an easy target, but just, I'm really happy that there are a lot of. So I did a talk yesterday with some young folks at a college in New Jersey. It was from Chi. It was the sorority was Chi Sigma Epsilon, and man, these You know, it was for it's a Latina sorority, but they have a lot of Afro Latina folks, and these young sisters are sharp. So I'm very confident in the new generation that's coming after my generation. A lot of us we're so caught up in the Obama matrix.
Mhm.
We're so caught up in like representation, but I think that a lot of us are growing up and are realizing that, you know, people like Joe Biden, people like Kamala Harris not are are not it. Although I will say it was a very nice touch for for President Biden to actually call the family. You know, punk ass Obama couldn't even do that. But I mean, but yeah, come on now. You know, I gotta like, you know,
You haven't been in on for a while, so you gotta catch up.
like,
You gotta catch up.
yes,
You
man.
gotta
Like,
catch
I
up.
gotta hook him. I gotta hook Obama every once in a while because he just. But we have the movement for reparations for ADOS people, which I'm just so proud of, and just there's a lot of grassroots organization. There's one in Chicago called My Block, My City, My Neighborhood. I believe that's what it's called. Just a bunch of really dope Black and brown activists together. You have some folks in Ferguson, the real protesting, like the real folks in Ferguson, not the folks who's like buying like 4 different houses, and you know they're
Oh, you talking about a certain organization?
and
Yeah,
just
okay,
sad, right?
you were, you know what, you were reading my alleged mind because I was wondering if you were going to get into that. So I don't know if you want to get into that now, or do you want to have a separate conversation about that organization?
You know, my man, we should have a separate conversation
Yes.
about the organization. I would love to be on that panel with other Black folks. Galen, man, you like,
Yeah,
you know,
I think you know, this is really
that would be
resonating with me
nice.
that I think we need to have a round table about that letter organization, because what's been going down recently.
Sad.
Oh, like
I mean,
but let's stop while we're ahead, because
yeah,
that's a whole other conversation
right.
itself. And I know the two ladies that I have on weekly, Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones, want to talk about that organization. So I think I'm going to reach out to them, yourself, and maybe get Galen, have 4 of us come on. And
You
I
know,
will.
my man, like I can. I'm sorry, you like, you know, not to interrupt you, but Staggers says some really, you know, greasy stuff about me. So, you know, for
Oh,
that,
that's all right. No problem. That's all right. I will get the right people. All right. I will get the right people for it. So that's no problem. But yeah, that I think that it's a lot of people are not paying attention. I'm not using just some of the things that I've been seeing and hearing.
Right.
I'm going,
Exactly. Looks kind of bad, right?
bad, horrible.
Yeah.
Like it's not great for credibility.
Not at all. Zero.
Right. So that's a whole other conversation. So no, so as we wind out here today, sir, final comments. Actually, you had mentioned your articles lately. I'm actually going to put up one of them for people to take a look at and
Please
to
do.
read. There's a great article that LeRon has written recently called Nobody Knows What Justice for George Floyd Looks Like Because Black People Have Never Had It. There it is right up on the screen. It's on the Your Tango website. Certainly check it out. Great.
Tango, like, you know, they've been exceptional. Shout out to Joanna Schroeder, my favorite editor, one of my favorite people.
Is that Joanna from Goodman Project days?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what? That's another person I'm going to reach out to.
Hell yeah. Oh my God,
you know what? Actually, I wonder if she'd be interested in joining that panel for Black Lives Matter.
You know what? Like that would be that would be very interesting. If she's on a panel, I would love to be on a panel with her for real. Joanna.
Yeah, you know what? I have not heard that name in a minute, so I got to reach out to her and see how she's doing. But that's so. How did the association with Your Tango come about?
You know what? Like, so Joanna and I, you know, we've been working together for a long time, and you know, we like, she's such an incredible person. And so I had saw that I had stopped working with Good Men Project because I just wanted to get paid. To be honest, you know what I mean? To keep it all the way alive, like I just didn't want to work. I just didn't want to write for free. And so I saw that, Joanna had left prior to that. And, and I mean, we're on Twitter with each other all the time. You're like, Joanna's wild. And so I just reached out to her. I was like, yo, I would really like to, see if I can write for you guys. And she was like, great, send me some stuff over. And so, it's just kind of connected like that,
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that that's so. Yeah, hadn't heard that name of it, so definitely gonna reach out to her and check up and see how she's been doing, because it's certainly been a minute. So
absolutely,
that's that. So what is upcoming for you,
man? So I'm still writing for I'm just still kind of freelance writing. I got some really cool stuff coming up. I'm gonna. Not so much volume, but just more like, really in-depth pieces. I've got a piece that I'm writing about now where I'm talking about DEI and just how it definitely ignores this one large portion of the population. And
LeRon, let me interject for just a moment. And
sure.
I want to get your feedback on this. Am I right or am I wrong that I see most of the people that are speaking to diversity inclusion or getting covered about diversity inclusion are Black women?
Yes, 100%. Listen, man, oh my goodness. See, this is why I really wish Galen was on this call.
Don't worry, so that's another conversation. Yeah. And this is another conversation topic I wanted to have. Right. Diversity inclusion from a Black man's point of view.
Listen, so unfortunately, I have to get out of here, but that's one thing, fam, I could just I will definitely like to speak on, and I'll just say that you are a very observant person. Let's just say that's you know what I mean, and that's all that I'm going to say about that. So
no problem. So we've got about 3 other conversations we're going to get LeRon back on. So as for people who are watching live on the replay, I'm putting his contact information at the bottom. There's website, LeRonBarton.com. There's also Facebook, LeRon L. Barton. He's on Twitter at Main. I forgot this. I spelled it incorrectly. Mainline LeRon. So let me correct it right in real time, so I can show people we can do it right in real time. So let's show it. There we go. At Mainline LeRon on Twitter. We also have on the gram, LeRon Barton.
Sorry, Dr. Vibe. It's actually LeRon L. Barton on Instagram.
Okay, well, I'm gonna correct that too in real time.
Right.
There we go. We're gonna get LeRon L. Barton on Instagram. So all that stuff. So everything's corrected in real time. So definitely, Ron, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's appreciated. Not taking it again. I know you've got lots of things on the go, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later that we have you back on the platform. I'm going to be reaching out to some people right after this conversation, saying,
hell yeah.
Definitely see if we can get Matthew and you on about race, and also talk about diversity and inclusion with Galen Bingham if he has some room for it, because I think that'd be both going to be powerful conversations.
We definitely have a lot of conversations, and I will definitely reach out more. And also, Dr. Vibe, I also do see your work on Clubhouse, which I love. Very proud of you for doing it.
Right back at you, man. We work together and win together, my brother.
Absolutely. Yo, well, listen, Dr. Bob, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I definitely never take being on your platform for granted. Not anymore. At one point I did, and then when I was listening to the interviews, and I was like, yeah, we need to key in better. And so love you too, Matthew, man, for real. And this is definitely going to be one of my better appearances. So
hey, no problem. Hey, right? I said from the first time, you always have a place here. So don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm coming after you more now. All right, my brother. Be well and keep the faith. All right. So another epic conversation. And was that outstanding or what? I'm telling you, LeRon he even held back, folks. Like I'm telling you, when he comes back, he's going to even bring more fire. So you got his contact information. If you don't, please reach out to me. And speaking about reaching out to me, if you want to reach out to me, the best way to do that is my website, drvibeshow.com. Everything Dr. Vibe there. Here's my Twitter handle at drvibeshow. Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. YouTube, The Dr. Vibe Show. And there's my email address, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Also, if you're up for it, if you want to join this Dr. Vibe mailing list, I have a special thing to share with you. And all you have to do is go to the drvibeshow.com/offer, and you'll get a special gift from Dr. Vibe. So before we close out, I'd like to say thank you so much for the people who caught the conversation live. Some of the people, definitely Matthew. Yes, we're going to get you on. And also Galen Bingham and some others. And wanted to get some more names, but it was my head, not my heart. So as always, I close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. Love, peace, and respect. And also remember to give yourselves grace. Thanks very much, everybody. Be well and keep the faith.